Kimberly Barmore, also a research assistant. Arjun over here is a graduate student of Dr. Lucas's. We're not hemp experts. We just kind of grow the stuff for Dr. Lucas, but we'll try to field your questions best we can. So is anyone here actually interested in growing grain or fiber hemp? A few people. Yep. So I know it's not quite as exciting as CBD right now, but we're still looking at it as a viable commodity in Kentucky. In this field and 2 other fields over there, we're looking at 3 different types of rotations, crop rotations. So the 3 rotations are interchangeably fiber, grain, and corn. Fiber, hemp, grain, hemp, and corn. So the rotation is fiber, followed by winter wheat, followed by soybeans in the next summer, followed by a winter rye vetch cover crop, followed by sunflowers, then followed by another rye vetch cover crop, and then you start the rotation over again. So we're looking at basically the impact on soil quality, namely carbon content of the soil, seeing if any of these rotations do a better job sequestering carbon than the others, and just overall yield to see how hemp performs in a kind of traditional Kentucky crop rotation scheme. So over here is our fiber hemp. I think the variety is Futura, is it 57 or something? It's Futura followed by a couple numbers that I don't remember. So the fiber hemp was planted with a tie cedar, 7-inch spacing, and you can see within rows it's a pretty tight spacing. Probably a plant every ½ inch or so is what we are shooting for. The fiber hemp, out of all the crops we grew here, it did a really good job suppressing weeds. So we didn't see any decline in yield or anything with that tight spacing. So we're pretty happy with that 7-inch spacing between rows. The grain hemp, we used the same tie cedar, but we taped over every other hole. So that was 14-inch spacing. And we think next year, so last year we did 30-inch spacing, and that was way too far apart. And 14-inch spacing this year, that's still just with a somewhat mediocre germination. We still think that's too far apart because we spent probably half our time on this farm hand weeding in these fields. And of course, on a larger scale, there's mechanized cultivation, but on this scale, we can't really get a tractor in, logistically in these fields. So I think next year we're going to do 7-inch spacing and hope for a good yield with better weed suppression. Other issues, we didn't really have any insect pest issues down here in the hemp or any of the plants really. One issue, basically right after we planted the hemp, birds are pecking the seeds out of the ground. So we didn't do anything about that. You all probably know it's hard to keep birds out of your fields. There's methods out there to scare birds off, but they oftentimes don't work. So maybe just account for that when you're planning. Go a little heavier than you think you need to. It didn't destroy our fields, but it did have an impact on the germination. Other than that, the corn and soybeans we planted with a 30-inch spaced monosim vacuum seeder. And the fencing you see around the perimeter, that's for the deer because they got in the soybeans. On a large scale, you don't really need to worry about that as much because they'll probably just stay on the edge of your field, just kind of browse. But on this scale, browsing that can destroy the entire plot. I guess, what else? Any other issues?
No, I was just going to say the deer didn't seem to bother the hemp at all.
Right.
Because our field up top isn't fenced, so no browsing there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's safe
we
to
haven't
say they're not.
found any cannabis-loving deer yet.
That's
Thankfully.
Yeah, it's not on right now.
Right.
But yeah, and that's hooked up to a solar charger. Stays on pretty much 24/7, but it's more of an issue at the beginning when young plants are coming up.
Do you ever irrigate any of these fields?
None of these fields have been irrigated. You can tell we've been super dry. It's unusually dry September, but it's kind of been the trend for the past couple of years. I guess other planting stuff, we planted both the fiber and the grain it was probably mid-June, which that's kind of late. That's a little later than ideal. That was due to more us deciding how we wanted to do it. We kind of reoriented the fields and decided on using the tie drill, and that was more human error than Mother Nature preventing us from getting in the field.
Say why the fiber's so short.
Yeah, the fiber is shorter. You know, that could be a varietal thing. It could be the tighter spacing. That could have an impact on it. But yeah, it's much shorter than typical fiber hemp. It could be it's just been so dry.
Better than
But
most.
that's pretty typical grain hemp. And the grain hemp, it's past harvest point. We left it up for you all, but we did our subsample a couple weeks ago. Fiber hemp's about ready to harvest. Corn and soybeans will be there in a couple weeks, we hope. And sunflower, we'll take our sample of that soon also. Does anyone have any questions so far?
yes, so I came from Alabama. Yesterday we visited a UK farm, and generally the fiber hemp was really tall,
Yeah.
and the other CBD hemp was not really tall or as much healthy as we saw here.
Okay.
So you see, this might be different type of the growth condition there and here, or
It could be. Like I said, this Futura, that's the only variety we've been using since we started this project.
okay.
So I'm not familiar enough with fiber hemp in general to know if that's a varietal thing.
So there is one thing about the level of CBD in plants that one has to check, like 3 point something or
The THC.
THC. So who set up that figure?
It's
Small.
Huh?
The author, the paper first author's name is Small.
No, I mean that is considered as a standard for growing or monitoring the hemp, production. And I was thinking, is there anybody who verified this level, or is this level is compatible with the current hemp production? So this is what I was wondering.
I'm gonna
think
say
it's
it was an
pretty-
arbitrary level set by the government.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is what it was. It's at 3% right now. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people that are going to harvest right now
Yeah.
probably got content around 4%
Yeah.
THC right
Yeah.
now.
4%.
So
But that's still super low.
it's still super low. It's not something that's going to
Yeah.
give you reefer madness.
Okay.
It's not 4%. It's 0.04. 0.04. Yes.
Point of view.
But is there supposed to be a benefit to CBD oil having less?
I don't think so. I think it's just the way of they're gonna let you grow cannabis, but they're still gonna. It's still under their thumb. You know what I mean? Up there, we've got it. There's a 3-foot circumference around each plant, so it's 6 feet between rows and then 3 foot in row, and that seemed to work this year. I think last year we did Was it?
It was just like 15 inches and 30 inches, I thought. Is that right?
It was a lot tighter. And last year our experiment was looking at the impact on spacing. So 3 foot has seemed to work out well. Nothing looks crowded, but
So last year you felt that crowding hurt you?
I think on the tighter spacing it did. But I don't see, it doesn't look like we're wasting space up there either, as far as I can tell.
So you have to be certified to grow hemp in any quantities. You have to get permission.
Yeah, even the fiber and grain.
Even they don't have like they used to say tobacco you could grow on your own farm 3 plants.
I haven't heard the 3-plant rule applied to hemp yet. I think it's kind of all or nothing.
3 tobacco plants is all you grow.
Maybe one day. Any other questions?
What is the drain nutritionally on the soil for the seed versus the fiber?
I think it's pretty comparable. I mean, obviously it's going to be more for the fiber right now just because there's a lot more plants over there.
Right.
But then more nutrients go into the production of the seed than the plant. So we kind of treat it equivalent to corn.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the only soil amendment was we use NatureSafe 1028. That's the organic fertilizer. We applied that before planting, and we only applied it on grain, fiber, and corn. So other than that, we're relying on our cover cropping and crop rotation to replenish nutrients.
So you're not using any sort of biological animal waste from other farm sources? Chicken
No.
litter, cow manure?
Well, that NatureSafe is like a chicken litter bone meal mix. So that is from a
Okay,
poultry
so it
farm,
is. It's
but not like,
farm source.
yeah, farm source.
And that's to keep your organic.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you use chicken litter, it has to be organic.
The chickens don't have to be organic, actually. I'm pretty
But the
sure.
poop
Someone
does?
correct me if I'm wrong. I think conventional manure can be applied in organic fields. That's the rule right now, at least. You want to go ahead?
Folks, I'm here to talk to you about a revolution. I'm here to talk to you about weeds in Kentucky. My name is Max
Oh, we
Hammond.
know a lot about them.
I am the CEO of A1 Implements. We're the makers of the Weed Hawk. In 1911, Kentucky produced more hemp than any other state in the nation. We actually produced 2/3 of the hemp that was produced in the United States.
Wow.
Right now, depending on who you listen to, we're either number 1, number 2, or number 3 in hemp production. In a few years, if we do the things that we need to do, if we play our role in this revolution, we will be number 1 in hemp in the nation, maybe in the world by then. But we've got different types of crops here in Kentucky. They've been talking to you about the fiber crop and the grain crop. And really about your only option for good weed control in these types of crops is to plant your seed so saturated that it chokes out the weeds. And you're still going to get weeds. You're going to get this spiny amaranth that's coming up, the pigweed, the foxtail millet that's coming up in all these crops. But if you're planting a CBD crop, or if you're planting it for something besides fiber, you've got other options. You can put plastic down with drip lines underneath it, very labor intensive, and there's some issues with doing that. Or you can hit those fields with a hoe. What we're seeing in the bluegrass right now in our bigger fields, we're seeing a busload of migrant workers come up to a field and get out with hoes and start hoeing. So we saw that problem. We're farmers, so we came up with the Hemp Hawk. And what the Hemp Hawk is a cultivator that you pull behind a tractor that only cultivates parallel to the rows but perpendicular to the rows, back and forth. So it eliminates the need for a herbicide in any organic crop, and it eliminates the need for hoeing in the hemp crops. So that's kind of a wave of the future. There's going to be lots of revolutionary products that come out of this hemp industry though. And we can all play a role in this. We can all make Kentucky prosperous for the farmer again. We're going to have problems that come up, but we can work together as a people to solve those problems. And that's what we're about at A1 Implements. We're here to be farmers helping farmers. We can make Kentucky #1 in something besides bourbon, something besides horses. We can put hemp right there and make us #1 in that thing, folks. So, anybody's interested, I got brochures.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Would you please keep this?
Have a good trip. Thank you.
First ones I talked to, I believe. Yep. If y'all got any questions about any of it, I'll be happy to talk with you.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna head back up there. We're taking some groups to visit Tony Silvernail's farm. We got some bands if anyone's interested in that.
What was it?